If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, and you guessed it, it's free. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in just one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Pieces of a Nation.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Excellent. How is everything?
Everything is amazing.
I love it. Well, cool deal. Well, let me get introductions out of the way, and we'll get down to this. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Sounds great. All right. Welcome back, Pieces of the Nation listeners. Thank you so much for coming back to this podcast that makes you feel stuff. My name is Richard Chu. Please follow us on Instagram at Pieces of a Nation. And while you're at it, please subscribe, rate, and review our show. It would totally help us out. Also, if you'd like, please support us on Patreon. It's only $5 a month. You can get, $5 fries at McDonald's. You can get a cup of coffee for $5 at Starbucks. www.patreon.com/Pieces of a Nation. So today, I'd like to introduce you to our guest today. She is a life coach, author, a mother of 8, which blows my mind. I don't even know how that's even possible. That's so amazing. Lori Beard, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Do I need to teach you a class on birds and the bees and the bee?
No, please do. I mean, we all need lessons on the birds and bees, and also how to have better harmonious relationships.
How to have 8 children. You do the thing and just give birth to them.
Wow, I bet.
This is awesome.
That's insane. I mean, since we're talking about that, 8 children, how did you, I mean, I know how you got to 8 children, but what was the thought behind 8 children? I'm just really curious about that.
I was being silly, and I'm just happy to be here, Richard. I don't know. Since I was a little girl, I would daydream. I don't know if this happens nowadays anyways, the little girls that play with the baby dolls and little kitchen and all that. And I just wanted to be a mom. And I got married, saw that my husband had an aunt with 9. And I just loved the feeling of the household and the concept of, organized chaos and how happy they were and all that when I went to visit. And I'm like, I want that too. And we took them one at a time. We were done with 5. Then we were done with 6. Then number 7 came as a total absolute surprise. And I was in denial till the day I popped him out of my belly. And then we decided together on number 8. That's the summary.
Wow. I mean, how do you manage 8 children? I mean, okay, there's 8 children plus you, plus your husband. That's 10 personalities in one household, right? And I have one son, right? And I mean,
Congrats.
and I'm overwhelmed, how do you manage, how do you handle overwhelmingness, and how do you create harmony in your household?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And congrats on that. Can I ask what age range is your son? Or
3 years old.
Tiny. That's a fun time. That's a fun age. So yeah, right now, Richard, I'm not sure if you're aware, I have I'm down to 3 at home. I have a little boomerang child that came back for just transition time, but I'm down to 3 at home. So those were wonderful years. And how do I manage? It was with a lot of organization, very conscious, writing notes of how I wanted my next day to be, whether that was story time at the library or T-ball or whatever, coordinate, lots of planning. And that's why I think entrepreneurship is no different. If I was the housewife and the CEO of my household for so many years, because that was kind of my identity forever. I was either pregnant, nursing, I didn't even feel like my body belonged to me for years. But I was able to keep all those balls, like a juggler, up in the air somehow with the help of a wonderful husband, wonderful friends, wonderful support system. So that's the way, organizing myself, being conscious about being organized intentionally in my days, in my time, in my hours of the day, how to spend them meaningfully and enjoy the moment. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like it's almost like a fairy tale to me, right? So, but like, how does, yeah, um, how do parents, right? Because things are bound to get overwhelming, right? So, how do parents actually have time to dialogue, and because you don't want to leave an impression of arguing in front of your children ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there can be times where even though when you don't say anything, the energy is still there, and the children can still feel that, right? So how did you and your husband talk about things? Were both your attitudes like as a unit and separately? How did you treat each other? Like, and how did you navigate through all that?
I love these questions. I'm even taking notes of the questions to make sure I answer them. And please make sure like I answer them. So yeah, as a unit, I love that because yes, we cannot, I'm a life coach, right? And I also do clinical hypnosis. And the situation I find with my clients is they neglect themselves. They want to please everybody. And there's even a book that talk about how when people are dying, how they resent the fact that they were always pleasing others, right? So as a couple, I don't want to resent anything. And because I was so excited about this idea once upon a time, right, when I just thought, hey, I want this for us too, I want this for me, we both made sure that we were going to nurture our relationship. And I came from a cycle of everybody was divorced, and there's nothing against divorce. I know it happens and it needs to happen, right? I always say, hey, my mom made that decision because it was the best for us, right? But then I come from this cycle where I'm like, I want to break that cycle. I want to try to fall in love with and marry a person that will be willing to fight together for us, right? Where nowadays is like, okay, didn't work out, let's get out of this. I wanted someone that if it wasn't abusive, etc., that we were going to be able to pursue it. So that started from the very beginning. And then as a unit, as an individual, self-care, even in the airplanes, what is it that the flight attendant train us to do, right? If there's an emergency, we need those oxygen masks. Even when there's a senior next to us or a child next to us, we need to put our oxygen mask first. I am a grandma now. I have 4 grandbabies.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. So I need to be around for a long time. My youngest child is 11. And I need to be around when he starts having babies too. And I want to be able to be there for those grandbabies. So I do self-care. And as a couple, we do self-care too as a couple. We make it a priority to go on date nights weekly, if possible. Ever since we had our first baby, we're like, this is important to keep that flame going. We need to courtship is important. We need to find this entertaining. We've been going out forever, and lately we've been going out to just eat since the pandemic. I'm like, this is getting so old. Can we do something different on our date nights instead of eating, right? And it's just having that excitement. And in courtship, when you're dating each other, you do anything and whatever, and you're like blind to the flaws of each other. And we have worked on them. It hasn't been easy. And I can tell you more about my story on how our relationship came up to a point where we needed to make a decision and we needed to kind of reconnect and reinvent ourselves because it was hard times. But it takes conscious effort and intention to keep that flame alive.
Yeah, let's talk about that breaking point, because I'm sure there are many families out there, parents and couples out there that have children that don't really always remember how to self-care each other and ourselves. And you get to that breaking point where you realize, wow, if this doesn't change, then, it's going to start to crumble. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that breaking point and how to truly, truly, truly change that. And obviously not, it's not about changing the other person, because we have to change ourselves. Right. What is that process like, and how did you both do it? Just pointers, anything you can share with us.
Yes, and please stop me. I want to be very concise, right? But this kind of it could be very broad, right? But I will try to touch on those points that I feel like you're very interested on. And self-care, right? I was doing my best. At a point, I decided to become vegetarian for health reasons, etc. I did my research. I had like a little mentor. She was a vegetarian. I'm like, no, you tell me. No, I don't want to impose this on you. And I'm super interested. She educated me. She helped me with all these resources. I did my research and I made that decision. And I said, now, to my husband, now, don't be mocking me. Please, I want you to honor me. So, opposite attracts, right, Richard? So we are total opposite. I'm from the Caribbean, very outgoing, love dancing and salsa and all that. He's from the United States. She does. Born and raised in California and raised in Missouri. And we're very opposite, very outgoing. He's very much to himself. So even with this interests, we're very different. So he would drink, soda. We don't drink alcohol, but it's like all this soda that I knew it wasn't doing him any good either. He was gaining weight, etc. I'm like, you are going to become a statistic. You're going to either die or have heart complications, diabetes, or cancer. I would say, please take care of yourself. I want you to last forever. Sure enough, he was diagnosed with cancer. And while he would mock me, my ways, my healthy ways, or my diet or whatever, and I would warn him, and I would just, you are just being so neglectful to yourself, to your life, to your health. We have all these kids. I want you to be with me, all this time that we need to be around for them. You're doing just this, like, knowingly, Sure enough, he was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, like stage 3B, which the next stage is why he's just a little sub-stage to be the 4th stage, right? So I was so angry because I thought, and resentful because I thought he did this like on purpose, and then when the diagnosis came, he was just joking about it and not even being serious about it. If you have had cancer out there, you know how terrifying that is, right? Or a loved one has had cancer. It is terrifying. And now I was needing to envision my life as a widower,
yeah.
And by myself with all these kids, etc., lonely, etc. So he was going to have his port implanted for the cancer treatments. I think that's when it finally hit that it was a serious thing. And then he got better. Chemo sessions were good. Radiation sessions were good, but the surgeon still wanted to cut him open for a surgery. He wanted to avoid that. But at some point in this process, when he was going to get his treatments, I would still be, instead of empathetic and supportive, I was trying to. It got to a point where we had an honest conversation when we saw each other eye to eye. And I was kind of done with being so harsh and resentful. And then I think he was done with this battle too. And he kind of owned it. He owned the way he was living life, or the lack of being proactive about his health, etc. He was very sedentary too. And then I think it got to that breaking point where we had this private very intimate in a way, because intimacy is also a very broad term that people don't even know how to be intimate these days. And you can be intimate with so many people in so many different ways. And we had this level of intimacy that I just love for us to have. And it's such a private moment that we became vulnerable and we started crying, both of us, where we kind of were surrendering to this pride and, desire to just be right, or like, screw you, kind of thing, and pointing fingers. And I'm on a Zoom call, right? And I'm
Right.
here on a video call, but if you're listening to me, if you think when we point our fingers forward to accuse, my grandma always told me 3 are pointing back at us, right? And like you said, Richard, like when we do this self-assessment and we see our own problems and flaws, and we are aware of them and act on them for the better, that's when our relationships become better. Because even when I was right about his health, about his things, his diet or whatever, maybe the way, and I'm not even going to say maybe anymore. I know that my way to tell him was probably arrogant and not the best way. It was out of love, out of truly, honestly caring, but that message was not being well delivered. It was like I wanted to chuck that. I needed to catch it anytime I was throwing that at him, and it was not working. And he was arrogant too, thinking, I don't care about what you say. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. It's my body, my life, until he got to that point where his life was at risk, and we became vulnerable, and we dropped those, we drew walls, and things started changing.
I mean, yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Arrogance really has a lot to do with it. I mean, because that arrogance is really the umbrella to, pride, the way you say things. I mean, so many things that can, even though if your intention might be coming from a loving place, arrogance can sort of filter it right into this whole other distorted view of love, right? It's unbalanced love in a way. You were talking about like intimacy, right? So generally people think intimacy as, the typical, in bed sort of thing, right? Like what types of intimacy, I mean, do you consider intimacy? What sort of types of intimacy? I guess that's what I'm really trying to ask. It's like, what types of intimacy are there that you can maybe share some?
Yeah, your relationship with others can be intimate at so many different levels. So if it's just a child or your partner or etc., it's so I'm cheating here, and I kind of looked up the definition of intimate, and it says to make known, especially in a formal manner, to announce. And I love it because even in bed, right, like you mentioned, are you being intimate? Are you expressing what is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? And likes and dislikes, etc. It's to announce and to make known. And when we put these shields or these coats, right, or these masks that are covering who we really are, what are our needs, what are our wants, that's where there's not trust, there's not honesty. And again, I have friendships that I've needed to like say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to continue nourishing this or investing time in this because this person, it's a fake. And when we all as humans, if we tap into that, we have those radars, we have those beep, beep, we can detect it. And it needs a lot of practice, and we need to be in tune with ourselves. We need to be intimate first with ourselves. People nowadays do not even connect with themselves. They're afraid of being alone. That's why we are hooked up on our screens, or we're always distracted because we are even so scared of getting to know ourselves that we cannot be intimate with others. And that's the type of intimacy that I am talking about, that way of making others know or helping others know, or to announce, like that definition said, what is it that you're about? What are your belief system, your value system, your way of preferring things or not?
Yeah. I mean, I love I love that definition, to announce or to make known, right? So, you know, I mean, it sounded like, okay. So it sounds like, no, after the breaking point, you and your husband have both sort of released and let go of your own pride, right? And we're fully not invested in it, but a lot more vulnerable to each other, and the ability to listen better to each other, right? To each other's needs, because you know, I feel like, I mean, from my experience at least, that, listening is highly essential, but sometimes I don't listen, right? I don't listen. And even though if I think I'm listening, I might not fully be listening, which is so weird to me, because I'm listening to one thing and, my wife is saying something else, right? So like, how does a couple, break through the pattern of thinking that they're hearing something, but it's not really fully there, right? Like the old saying of, I don't know if you believe in this, but like the old saying of like, oh, the husband just say yes, yes, yes to everything, right? Does that work? Or, I mean, these are the questions that sort of come up with me in relationships, especially in this day of age, right? But does that work? How do you listen better if you feel like you're already listening? And yeah, I mean, those are the couple questions that I'd love to know what your thoughts are on.
Yeah. So yes, yes, yes sounds super boring. And to me, that doesn't equal peace. That doesn't equal happiness and fulfillment. Tell me, any woman out there, if you agree that having a yes husband or, partner is fun, or no. I like, again, I'm from the Caribbean. Flavor is a big word in our culture, right? That will be bland. That will be such a bland experience. And I tell him, like, even this morning, Richard, my husband and I, we were talking about that, about how we strive to communicate. And it doesn't mean that it has to be yes, yes, or it has to be all we agree in everything, because that will be, again, boring, at least for me. The important part is that, and a psychotherapist or whatever would tell you, like, the reflective listening is super important. Oh, so so I heard you say this, right? Is that right? And they're like, and that gives the other person an opportunity. Oh, no, what I meant to say is this other thing, right? So coming from this place of curiosity, and to answer also, you mentioned, how do we do this? Getting rid of, or letting go of the filters we have. We have so many filters, right? Because of our upbringing, our culture, this or that sometimes we're like, you what? Like, and we're so defensive all the time. And if we come from a place of curiosity, oh, but did I hear you right? And that's why reflective listening is important, because when you say, I feel like this when you do this, and the other person is like, I heard you saying that you feel like this when I do this. Okay. And why? And then coming from this place of curiosity, where you, not an interrogation session, but then you can say something like, oh, I want to learn more. Tell me more, because I want to really understand what you're saying. And like I would have said, with my example about my husband's health, etc., I would have said one day, and I think this softened it, when I said, I worry about your health, because I love you. See, like, what is the intention behind it? Because we want to not be vulnerable, not be intimate. We withhold information instead of announcing, because of the pride. And we want people to read between the lines, and that's where men say, "Oh, women want us to read their thoughts." But we women need to be more honest with our intention. Why is it that we're telling him that? What bothered us, right? Why is it that it bugs us if when they don't take the trash out? Well, there's so many reasons behind that simple task or chore, right? That when we say, that's my love language is for you to do service around me, to do all this, to give me help. That was my love language forever when I was in the midst of raising all the children and the laundry and this and that. And when we express and announce what is it that we need, it goes better. At some points I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I tell my husband, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not looking around. I want you. And I want you to become this person that I know you can become. You don't need to be insecure about, no, I'm not going anywhere. Why? For me to find another guy with more issues or other issues. And being vulnerable like that and sharing and communicating and listening to the words and to the spoken and the unspoken. That is very important.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely. I mean the spoken is obvious. The unspoken is the not obvious, right? And that's the harder thing to sort of gauge into. Kind of going back to when children are around, and there is the unspoken part of it. How did you and your husband, talk about this? Because I can imagine there's no time to dialogue. There's no time. I mean, we have one child, and there's no time to dialogue. Okay, so you have 8 children. How did you have time to talk about this stuff? Did you text each other, email stuff, write letters to each other? How did you have dialogue so that you can resolve these things in your relationship?
Mm-hmm. Very important question. So is this happening for us right now? Right? You scheduled it. You made it a priority, right? So yes, definitely. Right now we have an app called Cozy where we schedule events and where we need to go in and out and kids, etc. But because all those other things are important, right, and keep us busy, we have also concluded that our relationship is important, and we schedule. Not always perfect, and I'm not saying all this because I'm already perfect at all this stuff. And we're 27 years into marriage and we're figuring things out as we go. But we have been able to sustain it, right? Going through all this. And I want to share a little secret too.
Please.
Ever since I don't know if this is possible for everyone, but ever since we got married in our honeymoon, etc., we showered together, right? For fun. And it was fun at the time. Till this day, and this is where we were having this conversation this morning, we showered together to a point where we were redesigning our bathroom. We took out a garden tub because we wanted our shower to be bigger and we wanted to had shower heads. Nothing intimate in the other way have happened in there, I think, ever. I just call it our wet scheduling chamber. because even the kids always knew, oh, mom and dad are taking a shower. They didn't see it in a different, weird way or whatever. They always knew that was the thing. It was not negotiable. He works out, I work out, and I'm like, you ready now? Okay. In the morning or in the afternoon, or he does some yard work, even when he showered during the day and he does some yard work. I feel like I need to shower again. Do you want to? Okay. We hop in and we talk. We talk looking at each other. And that was so important. So things that are important, you are going to prioritize and you're going to schedule them, book them, and put them in, written in your computer, in your hard copy calendar, whatever it is. So with the one child, Richard, I encourage you to try it. Texting also made it really romantic. Like, I love you. Ooh, I like this. I like that you did this morning. I appreciate you. Thanks for putting the dishes away. Or thank you for a lovely dinner yesterday. Or whatever it is. Oh, I saw you doing this for one of our children. That was so nice. And those little details matter, and they make a big difference. So how did we do that? We did it making it a priority and scheduling it, like the date nights and things like that.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's still a little bit about, inside of me that still has this old school way that you always have to talk. But I guess you have to be really flexible, in terms of, because, you know, your 3-year-old, you have to always be around. The mom has to always be around. So there's no opportunity to really sit down and talk. Right. And because the child, our son, you know, really always wants our attention. So we can't really, sit there and chit chat. But because we're in the day of age where we do have technology, and we can have another form of communication, which is text, right? That's another way of doing it. And it's not right or it's not wrong. You just have to be able to manage and use every single thing that you have, towards your desired goals, if you will, right? so I
That will
guess, I
help
mean,
you accomplish that goal. Yes. And you
right.
need to see all your resources, right?
Right. So yeah, I mean, so I guess that basically answers my next question, which is, how do you manage to have dialogue with let's say a 3-year-old? Let's say you have a 3-year-old. How do you manage to have a dialogue? Especially if you're angry at each other, or some sort of resentment to each other. Like, how do you work that out? I mean, because text only takes us so far. Right. So how do you work that out when you have a 3-year-old specifically, in my case, right? How do you even work something like that out?
Yeah. So I kind of perceive that conversation is very important for you, right, Richard? Like conversation, having a actual talk and conversing.
Right. So
out
so
loud.
so with my wife and I, like, we knew this. We've been together for 17 years, right? So she, for her, she's more feely touchy, right?
Mhm.
I'm more, I got to talk about this,
Awesome.
right?
Like me,
So there's, yeah. So there are these two things going on. So we're still trying to figure out how to integrate all, our own personalities together, without being so, um, so arrogant. There's an arrogance part to it, right? Because I want this right and she wants this right, and
Right.
and she wants, what I'm saying. So yeah.
Yeah. What would it be important to find out, to explore, is I want this and I want this, but why? And that because, right? I want this because having conversations with you, if you ever, I don't know if you have told this to your wife. Can we do this exercise here with you?
Let's do it.
Why do you like to have conversations with her?
Why do I like to have conversations with her? Because for me, it's all about talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the more we talk, the more I can better understand how, like, what you're actually saying. That's like I guess that's, I mean, with her, I mean, I have to kind of wrap it up, not just with her. I like to talk with everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just so I can see how they react. But especially with my wife, I like to hear those things. And I guess in some way, shape, or form, I break it down in my head better, right? I can better structure it in my head so that I can be run it in a system, right? Like I filter it in my system and I go, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, got it. And okay, great. I can apply that, and now I can, like, move forward. I think that's really why I like to talk about things, so that I can really understand, so that I can be better.
Okay. Let me ask you, those are wonderful, beautiful reasons from your part, and according to the need you have of understanding better. Specific now, let's look at it with her. Is there something you really appreciate or like about talking, the exchange, about hearing her, or is it more all about you talking to let it all out? Or is there an aspect of doing it with her, right, that you're interested in or that you like?
I think with her, like, it's funny because when you said me talking, I think that's a lot of it. It's just me talking. How do I think about it? Right.
Right.
Because for her, she does that. She actually does, like, she needs time to reflect on all those things before she answers, which frustrates me because there's this element of needing to have a response fast, right?
For you, right? You really like her.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's fast dialogue. I enjoy fast dialogue, and maybe part of it is just to, liking the way I talk. I don't know, man. Maybe that's another arrogance thing,
See, and that's the thing. Like in these conversations, you have told me what's in it for you, right? So
Right.
my question now is like, what's in it for her? And this is where sometimes this self-awareness, right? And I can get us, because I think I could. Would you agree that you and I are kind of similar? Because it's like you're pitching and I'm catching, and you're pitching and I'm catching, and we're having this fluid conversation that flows easily at the same time. And I agree with you, because my husband needs to process and needs to think about it. So I have learned that the hard way. And then this reflective listening, it's what's helped us. For me to be more patient. And what I hear you saying is, while it sounds robotic at the beginning, you need to kind of fake it till you get really used to and see the value of it. It's like you're allowing the other person process, and you're also allowing yourself to like, okay, let me slow down. And then again, if I ask you what is in, because if you would have told me, because my wife is so amazing and so smart, I like her input, I like I haven't heard that yet. So then if she's avoiding it, or if it's not happening much, it might mean that there's something there that is not aligning, and it will be interesting for you to be curious about it and explore, so that those can happen more often for your sake, but also in a way that she will be able to enjoy them too, or partake equally of that talking, which it should be conversation, right?
Right.
But you've been saying talking. I like to talk. I like the talking part.
Yeah. You're so right. You're so right. I mean, you're so right. I mean, it's at a very, very strong point. Now that I think about it, I talk a lot. I mean, this is the reason why I do podcasts, or this is the reason why I'm always like, I like collaborating, with other people in a highly creative environment, right? This to me is fun, right?
In a very free way. I love it too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, you're right. Maybe like there's a what am I trying to say? There's a point where I'm not considering the other person's, her feelings, right, or her point of view. But now, I mean, here's another question: like, how does So there's many couples that deal with this. This is not a specific thing. This is a very, very universal thing, right? Where if a couple, from two different backgrounds, I mean, like you, for instance, you're very outgoing, and your husband is, home, like more like a homebody, right? Very, what's the word I'm looking for? Inside person rather than an outside introvert, right? Yeah. So like, that dynamic is interesting too, right? So I guess what I'm trying to ask is that, we've shared how we know each other. I feel like, we have a common ground. We can go, okay, cool. This person, I get Lori. Lori is like straight up, man.
I get Richard.
Yeah. I totally get you. Right. So in the term of language between an quote unquote introvert and extrovert, how do you manage through all that, and while having still, respecting each other? Because you were talking about reflective listening. As a person that talks a lot, yes, it's time to listen, right? Reflective listening. But for introvert, how does that person manage for the extrovert? How does that work?
Yeah, and it has been very conflictive, and it's been one of our biggest, issues or problems or conflicts that we've needed to learn. How does he manage it? Well, implementing this. And this is why I'm a life coach. And I will always say, get help. that is my answer. Either get help or get a book where you both decide to read it together and say, hey, I guess we need to do this, implement it if you don't want to invest the time or the money in help. There's things that you cannot figure it out on your own, right? And with parenting, I wish there will be a guide for parents. Well, guess what? There's tons of coaches, therapists, and books that if you sit down, you can find the information, right? So yes, how have we managed? Yes, with help from an outsider that won't be judgmental. It's not a relative, that would be biased. And that we would sit together. One time I went into a counseling session where he was going, and I'm like, are you guys going to tell me when I need to go, or I'm the problem? I would like you to figure that out with your counselor. And one time I went in and he literally sat us in front of each other, and he saw the dynamic. And he's like, I'm seeing this. I see how this goes. I see your dance. And, it was great for him to evaluate how is it that we were just feeling like we were in a boxing ring, right? And how we learned to go, to deflate, to give each other time, to commit. Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Oh, but when,
right.
Not to avoid it, and to set up a time. We have learned this. So we got married so young. I was 20, he was 21. I see couples nowadays I'm not saying there's a one way to do it or no, but I see couples that are more geared up emotionally, psychologically, and all that because they marry at 25, 30, even then, if you haven't learned these valuable skills, it's going to be a struggle, right? It doesn't matter how old you are when you start and when you're involved in this relationship. But what has helped us is to be conscious about how, and I love that you are conscious of your style or your preference, right? And that's where the love languages come in, because you said, for her, it's physical touch. For you, would you say it's more words of affirmation or quality time when you talk? Because I don't know if you're aware of those 5 love languages. And I kind of perceive that if you like to talk, it's either one of those.
I'm not familiar with any love language.
There's 5 of them, and it's physical touch, right? Like it sounds like your wife likes the touchy, and there's acts of service. At some point in our marriage, that's what I preferred because I was so overwhelmed with the tasks at home and the chores, right? I'm like, if you do the dishes today, that will really get me excited, because that was my need at the time. And then there is also words of affirmation. Oh, you're my hero. Oh, you're so beautiful. Or you're, women or some men really, really thrive when the other person's edifying them, feeling it, right? Not faking it. And then gifts. Some people are like, if you get me the Gucci or whatever, that's when, shopping and, gifts is their love language. Yeah. And also quality time. Right now, quality time is mine. Give me QT. Give me QT. I need you. I want you. I want your presence. I am so in love with you. I want to see your face. I want to go explore together, holding your hand. Quality time is my love language right now. And it will be great for you to so those are the 5: words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, acts of service, and then quality time. And once you learn what is the love language that you like to demonstrate or show, right? But once you know also what is your love language that works for you, that you want the other person to show you, it is more harmonious, and you learn that better. That is very important to explore and to find out. And there's some quizzes online that You can see what is your love language that you like to. And then when you see, okay, so this doesn't work with her, she's more touchy. Let me just spend some time here with the touchy thing. And then once you express what is your love language, so of those, like, which is yours? Is it quality time or words of affirmation? If you like to talk a lot.
I love both, quality time, and I do like to talk a lot. I'm not going to hide anything. I'm seriously, I'm not going to hide anything, but like, I do like to talk. Like, talking for me is a form of learning, and a form of expression. Right. And so in a way, it's this secular thing that, it's I'm not saying it's a recharge, but it feels good to me.
So then from those love languages, if we just leave it on that context, right? I think, yes, we can have primary, secondary. So is it a matter of also, so what would you like her to give you? That attention? So then that's quality time then for you to just talk. Or also you would like for her to give you words of affirmation. Oh, Richard, you're so amazing. Oh, Richard, I want to support you on your podcast and your projects and creativity. I mean, what is that? Does that make a big difference for you? Like if you hear her saying that to you?
Yeah, I think it's more affirmation of appreciation. I mean, I know I'm totally supported with all my work and stuff like that. It's just sometimes you can feel extremely overwhelmed with certain things, and you don't hear certain things like affirmations or appreciations, right? And so those are the things that I think that I need to hear, right,
Mm-hmm.
and receive from that. Yeah, cool. I mean, yeah. Oh, with the love language, is that something you find online, or is that a book?
Yes, it is a book, and you find it online. It's called The 5 Love Languages, and even for teenagers, everything. It's
really,
oh my
wow.
goodness, where is it? I can send you that information, but definitely, yes. And then if you Google, like if you do a search on a quiz, for couples and things like that, you can find free things, free resources out there. But that's very important, and it really helped us. And also this communication information and having someone as a coach, I love it. I started helping someone individually, and she says, I thought I was happy in my marriage, but when I started getting help individually, I mean, and me working on my issues and things, our marriage got better. And as it turned out, she decided her husband needed some help with some areas, and she referred him to me. And I'm like, okay, if you're fine with me helping your husband, I will love it. And helping him has helped both of them, even at a level that she's like, Lori, I couldn't believe there was something we needed to improve. And I have also done couples coaching, not with this set, but working with them individually, they progress so much. Wow. And then I have also rejoiced in helping couples because of our own experience, etc. I just love to coach couples too. And of course, there's counseling out there if you want to go the traditional route, that I also strongly recommend. But sometimes we cannot do it alone, and it takes a village sometimes, and also us progressing and learning to sustain our relationships with our loved ones.
Yeah, no, so true. Wow, Lori, I feel like I received an experiment in this therapy session, which was amazing. This is amazing. I really appreciate the wisdom. If there is one thought, one piece of advice that you would like to leave the listeners, what would that be?
You are amazing inside and out. It's like a diamond in the rough. You out there listening right now. Doesn't matter what the world says, what your loved one said, whatever you think, if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, it doesn't matter what somebody said in your social media post, whatever, you have it in you to shine. And like a diamond, we're a diamond in a rough, and we can, just like a fire refines us. So that adversity, that opposition is what helps you shine if you allow it. So that's my message here. I always say, I just help you become, turn that inner critic off, and push that mute button on that inner critic and turn that into your best friend and ally. You need to become your best endorser, your best advocate, because that's the way you're going to shine. And the world is so dark out there that it needs the shine that you need to let it shine out there, because people are going to need sunglasses once you're determined and you realize you have that light in you. So I can tell you're already doing that, Richard, with this podcast, with your messages and your intention of just understanding how people are different and how each still has something to contribute to the world.
Wow. Thank you for that. Wow. Those are great words. Great words. If anyone wanted to contact you, how would they get in touch with you? Social media, your website? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So Lori Beard, I'm in pink on social media, like Facebook, right? Lori, LORIBEARD, literally like facial hair. And I'm on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And also, of course, steadfast-forward.com is my website, because that's what I want you to do, to step fast and forward into your greatness.
Awesome. Lori, thank you so much. Wow, this has been a great conversation and dialogue. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for this.
It's been great to be here. It's been a great conversation, and you out there, it's always a pleasure for me to share with audiences. So thank you so much, Richard.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.